All right, in this example, we are asked, in terms of paying less in interest, which is more economical for a $90,000 mortgage? A 30-year fixed rate at 8% or a 15-year fixed rate at 7.5%? So first things first, the amount of money we're borrowing, because that's really what a mortgage is, you're borrowing or holding off a certain amount of money on a house. So the amount we're borrowing, or the principal, is $90,000. And we have to figure out which one is more economical in terms of paying less interest. Something that we can pay back over 30 years at an 8% interest rate or over 15 years at a 7.5% interest rate. So the formula we've got to use for both of these is a bit of a behemoth, so I'll put it up here. It's monthly payments are going to be the amount borrowed, or the amount you're paying off, times the interest rate divided by the number of times paid, all that divided by 1 minus 1 plus interest rate divided by the number of times you're paying it. This part right here raised to negative number of times you're paying it times the number of years. Phew, okay. So the main thing you got to be careful with here is not making a mistake when you plug this into the calculator. So let's compare the two things. The first one, t is going to be 30, and that's for 30 years, and the interest rate over 30 years is 8%. Remember 8% as a decimal number. Take 2 hops to the left and you'll wind up with 0.08. And the other thing we'll be comparing is that the amount of years will be 15, and the interest rate will be a little bit less. It will be 7.5%, which again, take 2 hops over and you should get 0.075. Also, we are making monthly payments. Now the question doesn't actually say that. It doesn't say that you're paying back monthly. And the standard is if they don't tell you when you're paying or how often you're paying, you assume that it's monthly payments because that's just the most common way of doing it. So n is going to be 12 in both of these. So to figure out what the monthly payment is, we just got to plug everything in. So first I'll do the left over here. We have 90,000 times 0.08 over 12, all divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.08 over 12, raised to the negative 12 times, and it's 30 years that we're paying this back over. Now again, this is going to give us what our monthly payment should be. So let me plug all this in and be very, very careful with parentheses with these. Those can mess everything up. And I do like to do parentheses around any exponents like this as well. They may or may not be necessary depending on what calculator you're using, and that's exactly why I want to make sure to use them. So, 90,000 parentheses 0.08 divided by 12, close these parentheses, divide, open new parentheses, 1 minus, open new parentheses again, 1 plus 0.08, divide by 12. I'm going to close these parentheses, exponent, and I'm going to put parentheses around this, negative 12 times 30, close parentheses. And if you've got one of the newer calculators, your cursor is going to be floating up here on the exponent, and so you just need to hit the right arrow key to bring it down. Then I need to close these parentheses, and finally I can hit enter. And so make sure to be extra careful there, double check that it's all put in, hit enter, and you should be getting, and we're going to round everything to the nearest dollar. So you should be getting approximately $660. What I've got here precisely is 660.38811 and so on. So rounding that to the nearest dollar, 660.3, that's just 660 bucks. Now, that's the monthly payment. We have to figure out how much interest that actually is. How much interest are we paying? So, hopefully I can fit it in down here. What we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I'm making $660 monthly payments. Well, I'm making them every month, so times 12. And I'm doing this over 30 years, so times 30. So if I chuck that in the calculator, 660 times 12 times 30, overall, I am paying $237,600. So how much of that is interest? Well, what I actually borrowed, or what the mortgage was $90,000. So this minus 90,000, and the amount of interest I'm paying for the first plan is $147,600. Whew, so that's quite a bit of interest there. But again, you're paying this back over 30 years, so yeah, they're expecting something from you for letting you borrow the money for that long. So the monthly payment for the first plan is $660, and the interest is $147,600. Okay, cool. Now we need to see how much interest we're paying out overall for this plan over here. So it's going to be the same thing. It's this exact formula, but everywhere I see 0.08, I'm going to put 0.075, and instead of 30, I'm going to put 15. So I will still write it here. 90,000, 0.075 divided by 12, because we're doing monthly payments. 1 minus 1 plus 0.075 over 12. Don't forget the paranoia parentheses up here. Negative 12 times 15. And close off your parentheses. So let me put this in the calculator. We've got 90,000, open parentheses, 0.075 divided by 12, close parentheses, divide, open parentheses, 1 minus, open another set of parentheses, 1 plus 0.075 divided by 12, close these parentheses, raise it to a power, I'm going to put my paranoia parentheses in there, negative 12 times 15, close these parentheses, and again, if you're using one of the newer calculators, your cursor is going to be floating up here. Just tap the right arrow key to bring it down, close parentheses, and hit enter. And so we're getting the monthly payments on this plan, where it's paid back over 15 years at a 7.5% interest rate, of $834.3, but we're rounding everything to the nearest dollar, so that's $834. Now notice we're paying back, almost $200 more a month. So we are making higher monthly payments, but let's see how much interest we're paying. So again, we've got to find out how much we're paying overall, and then subtract the amount we're actually borrowing, the value of the mortgage. So I'm paying $834 a month, so there's 12 months in a year, so times 12, and I'm doing this for 15 years. So just to write it out, 834 times 12 times 15, and I threw this in the calculator, and I got $150,120. So overall, I'm paying significantly less, but let's see how much interest that actually is. I'm going to subtract 90,000 from this to get the second value of interest. And when I do that, I get that I'm paying out $60,120 in interest on the second plan. So in terms of overall interest paid, this plan, the 15-year 7.5% fixed interest plan, is way more economical than this 30-year at 8% interest plan, because here I'm paying $60,120 in interest, whereas on the other plan I'm paying $147,600 in interest. But you do have to pay $834 a month instead, so all depends on what you can manage a month. But that's what they were asking for. Which one's more economical? It's definitely this one right here, and that is this example.